So, good evening, everybody. I'm so happy to be with you, and I just want to start by first thanking all the committee members, Lacey, and there's Prentice, there's a number of people walking around behind the scenes helping to make sure that we get to where we're supposed to get to, and that you guys have hopefully a really value-added program. So a round of applause for the people who work behind the scenes to put it all together. So before I start, let me tell you a little bit about how I present. I move fairly quickly. You can ask me any question at any time. It's really not about my few little slides. It's about your getting the most value. So if the Spirit moves you, raise your hand, and I promise to stop and give you the answer. I already had one person, Derek, right? He said, "I'm coming at you, sister." Okay, I'm ready. You just tell the panelists, okay? I have a tendency to give you homework. The homework is not for me. The homework is to help you. So if you're sitting here tonight and you say yes to this question, I want to experience more success. How many people would say, I want to experience more success? Yeah? How many people would say, I want to make more money? Oh, yes, 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 yes. All right, how many people would say, I want to be happier and more satisfied in my career? Yeah? Okay, so here's the deal. We will give you everything. We'll give you the kitchen sink. We'll even go into grandma's slip drawer. We'll pull one of those slips out, give that to you too. But it is all useless if you don't do something with it. And so I'm going to ask you if you would be kind enough to take this little packet and open it up. On the inside, you're going to find on the right-hand panel a little note taker. And this is where you can make your notes from me and from our all-star panel that will be coming up shortly. I'm going to spend about 30 minutes or so walking through some principles that I think will set the framework and the context for our conversation this evening. And so I will pepper my commentary with these homework assignments. You don't have to write it's not a dissertation. Some things that you need to do anyway. And the first homework assignment is this. You need to go back to your manager after this session is over, tomorrow or the next couple of days, and you need to intentionally sit down and talk to him or her about what you learned, and then you need to talk about how you're going to integrate these new capabilities that you're going to be focused on building over the next 6 months to the back half of the year. Because believe it or not, you guys, for those of you who are on calendar year, you're 6 months done. It's already in the bag, and someone has had something to say about your performance. What I'm going to suggest to you is that you should be leading those conversations about your performance, and this is a wonderful opportunity for you to have a reason to have a special meeting with your manager or with your mentors or sponsors, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So the first homework assignment is? Go talk to your manager. That we heard from the front row. So let me just set the context and make sure that we're level set. Incidentally, that's a word I heard from Deloitte people. You know how, all you smart consultants, let's level set. It used to be circle the wagons or bring me up to speed, but no, now today it's let's level set. So let's level set, and let me just share with you some principles and beliefs and philosophies that I have. All right, the first one is this. Ladies and gentlemen, you own your own career. Nobody, not mama, not daddy, not sister, not brother, not Shanene, not Uncle Alfred, not Cousin Jimmy. Nobody can do it for you. Neither can your manager. We will talk about the role of the manager, but what I want you to hear clearly is this. Your manager is not responsible for your career. Your manager is responsible for developing great talent. True. Great talent and career management are two different conversations altogether, right? And so you have to embrace the total responsibility for managing your career. Now, as I said, we're going to give you some tools, and the tools are proven. And what I'm going to share with you in my time and what this wonderful panel is going to share with you, it's not just based in a book. I did put some of it in a book, and I'm going to put more in a book, but we've lived this. And that's the wonderful thing in terms of being able to sit with people who've actually been there and who know how you feel. So if you're here tonight going, I feel like I'm crazy, I feel like I can't get anybody to help me. How many people feel like that? Yeah, I heard amen. If you're sitting in the audience going, I just can't seem to get on track, or if you're sitting there going, I don't even know where to start, I'm going to tell you how to start. And the first thing you got to do is get your mind right, okay? Get your mind right, get your belief system serving you well. Let me tell you how I learned this principle. Years ago, I moved from Mobile, Alabama. Anybody from Alabama? Woohoo! I can talk about the little hometown all night long then, right? No, I grew up in a small town of about 100,000 people. I'm sure there's lots smaller, but in Mobile, Alabama, and my husband and I, we moved to Los Angeles, California. Okay, now what did this little country girl know about Los Angeles, California? Nothing! But we moved out there because at the time it was good for my husband's career and it was good for my son. We have 2 children, and our oldest child has Down syndrome. And back then, California had great school systems. So we loaded up the truck. We were not moving to Beverly, more like Hawthorne, if you know anything about California. But I had left a management position to come to work for Brown & Williamson, and I had been a sales rep, and I moved as a sales rep, and I had made up my mind, okay, the time is ticking. I'm on point, and I need to have a plan. And so I went to my manager, and we're going to call him Rick, because his name was Rick. And truth will set you free, right? And so I went to Rick, and I said, you know, I want to be back in management, and I would like for you to help me. And he said this. He said, I've been working on grooming 2 gentlemen, and once I'm done with them, then I'll turn my attention to you. Wrong, 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 and wrong, right? What a blessing. Because that day I said, okay, if you're going to make it happen, you got to take the ownership of it. So I say to you tonight, you have some dreams. Don't be looking anywhere else. You got to start by going into your own head. Now, the model that we're going to use for developing this new capacity is really a growth model that I designed when I wrote my second book, The Hybrid Leader. We can give you knowledge, but you have to make the choice of what to do with the knowledge. And then you've got to get to a space that I call time zero. Time zero is when you get out of the mental loop that says they, them, he, she, whoever is holding me back. Now, I'm not going to deny that corporate America is riddled with challenges. We will talk about those challenges. But if you focus on those challenges, it will suck you under. It will kill you and kill every opportunity that you ever dreamed of. So it's important for you to get into that time zero space where you draw the line in the sand. And tonight, I'm asking you to draw the line in the sand. I don't care how many stumbles you've had. I don't care how many bad managers you've had. I don't care how many bad experiences you've had. Tomorrow morning, it is game on. And when we say game on, we come to win. Right? Y'all tracking with me? If you're tracking, say tracking. Tracking. All right. Now, after we get our mind right, then we've got to apply. So the things that we're going to talk about, you can't just sort of go, well, you know, I don't have a mentor. I was going to call him. I was going to call her. It's like 6 months later, and you haven't done nothing. That would be unacceptable behavior. That would be a strategic error in corporate speak. Yes, so you've got to apply it, and then you've got to integrate it for the rest of your life. All right? Are you getting what I'm saying? All right, with that as the backdrop, let me tell you, I understand that from a people of color perspective, and even women, we have made real progress. Yes, we have. And there is so much real potential. You guys, I kid you not, I say this in total sincere belief. It has never been a better time than now to be a woman or a person of color in business. And why do I say that, ladies and gentlemen? Why do I say that? Who buys the products that we sell? Who is that, my brother? Women, that would be correct, and don't you forget it, okay? 85% of all purchases made in the United States of America are influenced by women, okay? When Jason stands up here and he says, Deloitte is serious about this because our clients demand it, it's because There is a business proposition on the table. See, it used to be, oh, let's talk about that affirmative action, and then people whispered like, oh, who cares about affirmative action? Well, you got your job because you just a black person. Okay, that kind of stuff has gone by the wayside because there is something that we all have in common. Green, money, money, money. So let's be very, very clear about what's happening here. You know, back in the day when I was in corporate, we didn't have the business proposition. But let me give you your second homework assignment. You need to know who buys your products. I don't care what side of the business that you're in, you need to understand who buys your products. And if someone comes up and says to you, wow, what do you think about our new marketing campaign to X, Y, and Z, you should be able to talk about and offer an opinion as to whether or not that aligns with the target customer. Does that make sense to you? All right, so we know that Latinos are growing. We know that Asians are growing. You guys are smart people. You all know this. Now, some people are a little upset about it. They will get over it. We'll give them some pills, and they will calm down. In the meantime, those who want to win will get it right. That's right. Okay? And so this is an opportunity for us, so no more of this hanging around the challenges. Yes, there are challenges. There is bias that's in the workplace. But my friends, this panel is going to tell you they navigated around it. I stand before you, a little country girl from Mobile, Alabama, telling you I navigated around it. Now, I want to tell you how, okay? And we're going to do this fairly quickly because we got a lot of material to cover in a short amount of time. The first thing besides taking ownership is I stopped playing victim. No more victim. Okay? Let me tell you, the world is going to buy whatever you sell. If you sell that you're the next CEO, they'll buy it. If you're selling, well, I'm so tired. Stop that immediately. I am not kidding you. From henceforward, as you're walking in the halls of corporate America to in your respective organizations and people say, Keith, how are you doing? You say, great. That is exactly right. And you wear a beautiful smile. Yeah. Yes, those pearly whites, that's wonderful. Yes. But I'm serious as a heart attack because you guys, people are watching you every day. Yeah. Every movement that you make. They're watching you, and they're looking to see, do you carry yourself as the leader? Do you project confidence? Do you project happiness? Do you have the right game face on? When a player goes to play, they get their mind right, they put on the right equipment, and then they get their game face on. And in corporate America, the game face is about being likable, and we're going to talk about relationships in just a moment. But if you don't show up like that, you're going to fall into the trap. What is the trap? People of color get this kind of feedback. You're aloof. I can't get to know you. If I get to know you, I can't trust you. Well, you're a woman. You got your hair on fire. Well, I don't know if you can take you to the boardroom. Well, you just caused me all this angst. Well, you know what? I just don't want to have anything to do with it. So you have to show up likable. Make sense? Okay. What matters most is how you see yourself. You know, as a child, Elizabeth Taylor, every morning her mother would say to her, Elizabeth, you're the most beautiful woman in the world. Every day. And she began to believe that she was the most beautiful woman. And because she was beautiful, she became an actress. Did she have all the talent in the world? No, but girlfriend had some diamonds, you know, seriously, because internally, her confidence radiated out. Now, if we had all day long, I could give you case studies and I could give you examples of people who could just demonstrate this far better than I can. But I tell you right now, whatever it is that you believe about your capabilities, that's what's going to happen. Growing up in the South, I was a part of segregation. You know, it was still very segregated in my family. We were the first to go to the Catholic schools to integrate and be a part of desegregation. And when I used to tell people that I wanted to be president of a company, they used to tap me on the head and say, that's a nice little dream. Why don't you go to a trade school? And so when you step out, I'm going to warn you, one warning. When you step out and you start talking about, I'm going to do big things, there's going to be two schools of people that are going to come at you. One is going to be, man, I'm right there with you. Come on. And then there's one that's going to be, what you got? Why do you think you all that? Who said you could play? You have to be prepared to handle both with grace. See, if you take the high road, you don't have to worry about the crazy people, because the crazy people will be found out. Now, let's get down to business. First and foremost, you got to figure out what you're passionate about. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, stop doing it. You will never be successful if you're not happy at your job. Never, 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 never. Why? Because the emotion, it really chokes. It chokes your brilliance, and you can never perform at your best. So you got to figure out who you are, what you're passionate about, and what is your purpose. Earlier, when the panel and I were sort of debriefing, getting ready to come here, Abe said to me, he said, hey, when did you know that you wanted to do what you're doing? And I said, always. Since a little kid, I knew that I wanted to teach, right? Only when I graduated from college, I was going to graduate school, and Adam was born, and then my entire life changed. And teachers weren't making any money anyway, and I am all about the ching-ching. Okay, that was a little bit too much information. All right, anyway, but I am, because, okay, we are all products of our environment. Growing up poor, you better believe I'm going to do everything in my power not to ever be poor again. So first and foremost, you got to get quiet. How do you get quiet? I'm going to ask you to accept the homework assignment, a new integrated part of how you show up. You need weekly white space. You need an appointment with yourself on a weekly basis. And in that appointment, I know, don't throw tomatoes at me, because I know your plate is already full. But you know what? God forbid if someone said, Charles, if you don't come to see the doctor every Monday for the next 8 Mondays, your life is going to be at risk. Could you find the time? Yeah. How many people could find the time? Oh, yeah, we got all kinds of time. I'll be there at 7:30. You want me to be there at 7? You got to get there at 6:30. I'll get there. So we make excuses for things that we don't need to be making excuses for. So weekly white space, you're going to need it, because all the stuff that I'm getting ready to dump into your brain and what this panel is going to share with you, you got to process it. You got to sit quietly, and you've got to process it, okay? So homework is white space. All right, number 2, somebody, as you step out, is going to ask you, what do you want? You got one chance. One chance. So you have got to create a crystal clear vision statement. How many people in here have a written career statement, vision statement? It's written out. 1, 2, going for 3, 3, 4, going for 5, 5, going for 6, 6. Can we have 6, 6, 6? I'll take 6. Going for 7, 7, 7, 7. Sold at 6. Okay, everybody else in the room, nobody can help you. I can't help you if you can't tell me what it is that you want. Now, you don't have to say, I want this specific job, but you got to know the scope of responsibility that you're willing to make the sacrifices for. You've got to know if it's aligned with your passion. You've got to know how it adds value, and you got to know what it takes to get there. But if you're not clear, no one can help you. So the homework is to sit quietly and create a career vision statement. Just fast forward and pretend that your career is over, and you look backwards and say, what is the mark I want to make? And you'll know exactly what your vision should be. Does that make sense? Okay. Number 3. So I've given you 2 already. Now I'm going to give you the framework, right? Instead of waiting for your manager to tell you what you are lacking, which should never happen again in your lifetime, okay? Never, ever. This is your career. This is your performance discussion. You should be setting the agenda, and you should be delivering the plan. Now, how do we get there? We start with the life vision, which that work takes time. You have to get with your significant others, your spouses, whoever's involved in your life. I mean, you know, figuring out what you are going to do in life is a pretty meaty, heavy lifting kind of thing. Once you get that right, though, you are then primed to outline your career vision, because your career vision has to fit into your life vision. And you have seasons. So sometimes your career will be going like this, right? Sometimes it may be going like this. And sometimes you might, like some of us, I'll speak for myself, some of us who are, on the other side of 50 plus. Okay, I'm 53. I just will tell you, I'll be 53 in December and happy. If the Lord lets me get there, it'd be great. I keep on saying, when I'm 73, I'm going to say I'm 73 when I'm 83. I think I'll start lying. Okay, but then you have got to come back and you have got to engage in an assessment. Okay, here's what you need to do. Go back to your organizations and pull the leadership expectations. Every organization in here has a set of leadership expectations. And it says, in order for you to be viewed as a leader, you got to demonstrate these things. Usually it's something like strategic thinking, financial acumen, strong communicator, results driven. And then you've got to go and you've got to evaluate yourself against each one of those areas. Got it? And then, based upon your vision, you then compare what you need against what you've got. And now you have your gaps, right? And once you have your gaps, then you start building a plan of action to close each gap. Right? And you lay out the timeline, you lay out the activities that you're going to engage in, ensure that the gap is closed. Like, you get on purpose so that at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, you're telling a different story about who you are and about your capabilities, and most importantly, about what value that you can add to the organization. Do not be confused in these exercises, you guys. Please don't leave here and go out and say, we went to class and we talked about our careers and how we're going to get to the top. Newsflash, nobody cares. They care if you can add more value. The benefit, the derivative, is that you get promoted. But don't be trying to go get promoted first, because it's not going to work that way. You gotta put some stuff in the bank, right? And then you're going to get the promotion. So what I will do is I will make sure through Lacey that these few slides are available for those of you who really want to do the deep dive and you want to study. I just ask, if you ever use the presentation, you give credit where credit is due, because it's hard and arduous to put them together, and it's proprietary information. But this model, if you will take this model and spend the next 30 days really peeling back the onion and asking yourself some questions, this will help you. Now, another question that I need to ask you to ask of your managers in your touch point is this: where do I stand on the succession planning list? Now, your manager is going to look at you like you got 5 heads, because they're not used to people being that direct. You need to know where you stand in the organization, and then you need to bring forth this plan of action. So a couple more. You've got to build a leader's brand. And each of these, you guys, I do just half-day classes, modules on each of these, so obviously we're going very fast. But your brand is out there right now. Homework assignment. Go ask 3 people. And they need to be people that are sandpaper people. Don't be going and asking all the people that you know already love you. We need to go to the sandpaper people. Who are the sandpaper people? Well, those are the people who rub your backside the wrong way all day long, right? And you need to go and ask them, what 2 words would you use to describe me as a leader? And don't be upset if you hear words that you don't want associated with your brand. Now you know what your work is about, right? So the 4th principle is a leader's brand. The 5th one, perhaps the tipping point, you never hear this in B school. You don't hear this in graduate school. I'm so blessed to teach at organizations where people have 2 and 3 PhDs. And I talk to them about relationships and they go, what's the mathematical equation for that? There's not one. We're humans. We are humans. And if you cannot connect with other people, your career is going to stall. You're going to burn out. Relationships are the tipping point. And what I would suggest that you do is look at the matrix in your organization. Identify in a very authentic way 5 people in the back half of this year that you need to know them. They don't need to know you. You need to know them. And then you have to find a business reason to approach them, right? Now, how many of you are in employee resource groups within your organization? Show of hands. Hi. Do you know you can go in and see anybody? You can get on anybody's calendar. Oh, you know, diversity and inclusion is so sexy right now. You gotta strike while the iron is hot. I mean, now, when you go to somebody's house for the first time, what do? Mama raised you right. You bring a gift. So when you go to see these people, you cannot go empty-handed. You need to bring a gift. And the gift is usually an article or, a book that you've read, something that is going to, sort of tickle the fancy, so to speak. Something that just sort of lights them up and says, oh, you're reading that too? Well, yeah, I am. We have this in common. And that will start the relationship, and then you've got to nurture it. Now, about the relationships, we're going to talk with the panel about mentors and sponsors. I want to do a public service announcement as it relates to relationships and mentors and sponsors. Women and people of color, this is what we like to do. We like to mentor with people who we can whine to. Do you know what happened to me today? They just made me so upset. Girl, it's okay. Just, girl, go get your drink on. Just forget about those people. Let it go. Right? Okay, I see a bunch of people just got busted. I am talking about being strategic, right? And I'm about to say something, so please put down the water bottles. Do not toss any water at me, because you have to protect the hair, okay? You need mentors of different races and ethnicities. The people who control corporate America are white men. 95% of all CEOs are white men. The next major group that's coming along is white women. White women have been the biggest beneficiary of affirmative action. I just blogged about this at the Huffington Post. I wish I had time to give you all the numbers. But here's what I want you to hear. All through history, white men have helped other people who don't look like them or act like them. Please don't make the mistake of generalizing and doing the paintbrush that all white men are evil. That is not true. It is simply false. It's a myth. It's a lie that somebody told you. Get it out of your head. It is a myth that I can't connect to a white woman. That's a myth. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Be intentional and on point about building strategic relationships. Because if you really want to learn how to navigate the arena, you got to go to the people who know how to play. So we got to get a little bit uncomfortable, and we got to stretch ourselves. Deal? Okay, deal? Deal. Okay. Next principle. Number 6, jumping the curve. What you learned today is just the beginning. Every year, you have got to acquire new capabilities to remain relevant. 2 little companies that I'd like to quickly point out that give us powerful lessons about the importance of jumping the curve. That would be Blockbuster and Kodak. What happened? They stopped reading the tea leaves. They stopped paying attention to the consumer's needs. They got arrogant. They got comfortable. And they lost. Same principles apply to us, you guys. You have got to read the tea leaves of what's happening in your organization. We know, to Jason's point, the organizations, the strategies are changing. Man, there's so many rapid changes. It's exciting and yet it's scary at the same time. I mean, the kind of leaders that they need now are people who are good at white paper exercises. You know what a white paper exercise is? There's nothing. Go create it. Welcome to the 21st century. That's the kind of leader that the organizations need now. And so you've got to be on point at building new capabilities. One of the homework assignments I'd like to give you is this. If you are not studying the BRIC countries, the emerging markets, if you're not studying Brazil, not studying Russia, don't know anything about India, except for a lot of smart IT people come from India, that does not count. Seriously. Y'all know, I see a bunch of people turning red, getting real busted right now. China, Africa. You guys, pay attention to the tea leaves, okay? The population, the growth population in the United States and in Europe is declining. Your future customers are coming from the BRIC countries. And so therefore, my friends, we need to educate ourselves. Fair enough? Jumping the curve. Last principle. You got to ask for what you want. Nobody can read your mind. I mean, seriously, just ask for what you want. And it sounds so simple, but you know, when you step out and you say to somebody, well, I want to be senior vice president, that takes a little bit of courage. You know, you have to have some gabongas to do that. But ladies, let me talk to you for just a second. This is Trudy's opinion. I don't have any data to support it. Well, I do have some data to support it. Women earn how much for every dollar that a man earns? 77 cents. Why? We don't ask.
We don't ask for more.
We negotiate?
No.
We don't even try. We don't even put it out there. We go, oh, thank you so much. I just love this job. And then we wonder why people say, oh, she's so enthusiastic. Instead of saying, she's so strategic. She's results driven, right? So I just really encourage you. Number one, how many people know where they stand on the pay grade for their organization? That's less than half of the room. If you don't know whether you're making your fair share. And if you don't ask, you don't get. And it's not just asking you guys for money. It's asking for stretch assignments. It's asking for special opportunities. It's asking to shadow. It's asking to take on special projects. It's asking to take a leadership role. It's asking for all the things that you know that you have to do. Just get out there and say, hey, you need help? I'm available. Man, if I was in corporate America right now, I'd be running an ERG or a BRG. I did start an ERG. I have to tell you a quick story and then we'll wrap up. Just to show you that you also have to be extremely resilient, which hopefully will come out in the panel. But I remember a colleague and I, Kay Colleton, we decided that there weren't enough women in the organization in terms of our pipeline, and we didn't even have them in middle-level leadership. And so Kay and I, we started meeting at each other's houses long before there was budget to bring in speakers. We brought in wine and just met at somebody's house. That was our BRG. But I went to my boss, who then was an SVP, and I said, you know, Kay and I are going to start this group. And he said, why? And I said, have you read the book? You know, this is like in the 90s. I said, have you read the book Workforce 2000? You guys remember that book? And I said, did you see how it was, you know, projecting the number of women that were going to be in the workplace and all of that? And he says, well, that's not happening now. Why should you be worried about it? So I said, well, if you don't plan now, what will happen when it really does happen? And so he says, well, what are y'all going to do in this group? And I said, I think that we'll look at some leadership development. I think we'll look at some strategies to help us influence policy. And he goes, well, I just thought y'all were going to take off your bras and pick it in front of the building downstairs. And I collected myself with the grace of the good Lord above. And I said, no, we have a better idea. We're going to set some bombs off, and the first one's going off underneath your chair. That's why I'm not in corporate America anymore. But you got to find the courage, you guys, to be true to yourself and to challenge the status quo. So the payoff is success in your own terms, whatever that is. It could be, I want to be like these people, senior, you know, executives, or it could be, you know, I just want to go home and I want to lay my head down and I don't want to have any bad dreams. And I don't want to be thinking about hurting anybody. And I want to be happy. I want to wake up and go, you know what? I want to go to work. Yeah. You know, I want to enjoy it. That could be what you need. So the principles are not just about accelerating. The principles are about you're adding more value. And in this day and time, you guys, that's the equation. The big players, the game changers, they add value. I mean, I got promoted because I either made the company lots and lots of money, or I came up with best practices to save them lots and lots of money. They didn't ask me to do it, but I knew if I didn't, I wouldn't get on the CEO's radar screen. So the last homework assignment that I'll give you before I segue is this. I want you to go back, and I want you to look for every problem that you have ever sat on the sidelines and said this. I wish that they would do something about this. Because that is your cash cow. If you do something about it, and you help them resolve it, I'm telling you, you will be able to play anywhere you want to play because people will see you as a value-added leader. Make sense? You tracking? Are you tracking? Tracking. So I ask you as I leave my portion to really think long and hard about what you're going to do. So by the time you leave here in the next 45 minutes or so, seriously, if you put the pieces of the puzzle together, you'll have a strategy, a personal strategy for raising your engagement and experiencing more success. So thank you for allowing me just to share some of my principles, and I hope that you go and do something really big with it.